Hi, everybody. This is forcibly removed from his barracks room, and he was taken to the arms room because it's a soundproof room, and his life was taken from him because he was a whistleblower. He was a whistleblower, and everything is really coming out. And of course, President Trump confirmed that he's a whistleblower. Confirmed that he was killed in the line of duty, right? That is huge. And the other evidence from this huge file, because it's been going on for 5.5 years, and it's a huge file, y'all. And it seems like everything is connected to Richard's case because El Paso is the epicenter, right? And we don't want it that way, but El Paso is the epicenter. It's all about illegal immigration, isn't it? And Trump's administration is all about illegal immigration. And when he doesn't focus on it, his points go down. When he focuses on it, his points go up. I mean, that's just the way it is because people see the fraud. People see the migrants being put in danger, the citizens of the United States put in danger. They see the lawlessness. They see those that are exploiting the whole situation because they act like they're above the law, right? They see it, and our military sees it too. And they see this seditious six as exactly what they are, that you can make up your own law, that you can decide on what's the law and what's not the law. It's very, very dangerous. It can be very, very violent when a society doesn't have a set law like we do. That's why the United States is so resilient through all of this. Okay, because just think what's happening. Just think the assaults that are happening against us and against our very foundations, and yet we're so resilient. And that's because of the Constitution, because of states' rights and states' constitutions, and that's why they matter. They matter hugely, and people rely on the law. So let's see if I'm on. Looks like I'm on. Always takes a few minutes. Yes, so let's thank you so much. Oh my goodness, I'm getting so many messages that are absolutely amazing because they absolutely know what's happening right now at the border. And I really appreciate that. And I appreciate all the prayers. We need all the prayers that we can get because God is working mightily, it's the prayers are like fuel, right? Fuel for God. Um, because if we're not praying, then of course the stones cry out. That's been on my mind this whole week, is how the stones have been calling out that you can't stop the truth. You can't stop God's justice. You can't stop the transparency because if we don't call out, if we don't do what we're supposed to be doing, uh, and bringing heaven on earth, right? Um, letting things happen here on earth as they are in heaven, right? That the stones will cry out because God doesn't give up. And God's hand has been on this whole thing. I'm trying to see if I can uh, see. It doesn't look like I'm streaming. Make sure that I'm streaming. Let me check all this. Because sometimes it just doesn't happen. And there's so much, and it's late, I know. Yeah, it all looks right. It all looks good. Okay, let's see. There it is. Okay, I am. Okay, let's see. Okay, I don't see it on my phone yet, but it's coming slowly. But I'll go ahead and start. Because I can't, and I'll go back and look at the messages. So today has been a wowzer day. And I just want to explain a little bit about Richard first because I had some people that I spoke with today that asked that just didn't understand about the connection of Richard's case with the Walmart mass shooting case. And it's very important for everyone to understand that Richard was a whistleblower, that he was a whistleblower in 2019 and early 2020. Okay. This is when President Trump, in his first term, was absolutely trying to secure that border. They were trying to secure that border, and there was, so much resistance to it because it's a lot of money. There's so many compromised officials, right? Which we'll get to today with the breaking news. Um, and he was putting his executive orders out. He was investigating so many crimes at the border, so much fraud at the border, and there are records of all of that. So you can go and look for yourself about who is being raided, who was, you know, uh, well, I shouldn't say, um, thought to have been trafficking, right? And so the law enforcement was trying to do their job and stop the trafficking and secure the border. And there is records all over the place, starting in 2017, going into 2020. And so President Trump was absolutely um, not their friend. He was not El Mayo's friend because El Mayo Zambada is Ismael El Mayo Zambada Garcia. That's his name. Of course, he started the Sinaloa Cartel with El Chapo, and they made loads of money, y'all. It was they really built something. It was really, really amazing and amazingly criminal. It was totally criminal, and a lot of blood on their hands, a lot of lives lost, a lot of culture ruined. Okay, because when you flood Mexico with drugs and drug money, and that comes with arms and bullets and human trafficking, sexual trafficking. And when you have that kind of sexual trafficking with all the drugs, with all the violence of it, then the spirituality also gets demonic, and then the crimes get demonic. And so you can see that progression with all the very worst type of crimes against children, and now also this organ harvesting, travesty where they targeted young women that were pregnant, targeted women with children, and exploited them. And not only that, but then DNI, which is National Intelligence, Department of National Intelligence, just released Martha Aguilar Mendez, right? Uh, is it Mendez? Yeah. Uh, that she was the La Diabla, right? She was the La Diabla, and that she was performing with trained like 16, 17-year olds to perform illegal C-sections. And a lot of them went wrong, right? And they were also performing organ harvesting. And her family worked for Beto O'Rourke. Her family worked for Beto O'Rourke. I can't make that up, right? So this is, so much information uh, that needs to be said, how bad the trafficking and where the trafficking leads to, right? You think, oh, it's just taking some drugs, but then the drugs drop other dominoes, and then it becomes absolutely demonic, and you lose your country. Right now, Mexico is in Mexico, oh gosh, has such a rich history, and it's such a beautiful, like that the Parral where they just had the shooting. That is, that's city is amazing. It's just an amazing history, and it circles a mountain of silver, y'all, a mountain of silver. Um, so Mexico has uh, these. Commodities and minerals and uh, just everything that people want, right? And this country now has lost their sovereignty. They're in the grips of China. Everyone knows Scheinbaum is in the grips of China. And the Mexican people, are really suffering because of their loss of sovereignty. And so these drugs and what El Mayo has done, ruining his people, and not only that, but attempting to ruin the United States and so many other places, right? So many other places, so that he could just become, very powerful. He was very, very powerful. He still is very, very powerful. The most powerful uh, drug trafficking kingpin, I think, um, that's recorded in history. I really think he is a billionaire, right? A billionaire. Lots of security around him, lots of guns around him, lots of probably dogs around him. So to get him on a plane, to kidnap him, to get him on a plane, to drug him, and to fly him to the United States without notifying the authorities properly, right? Without going through the extradition rules that we have, the laws that we have, um, to use a private plane like this, uh, it is dirty, y'all. It is so dirty. Okay. And that is, betrayal. That is betrayal. And so, am I on El Mayo's side? Of course, I'm not on El Mayo's side. I'm saying something very dirty happened. And of course, there was pressure that caused that to happen, or maybe a weakness that caused this to happen. But there was a betrayal. And where our question is, um, which El Paso businessman betrayed El Mayo? Okay, which El Paso businessman betrayed El Mayo? I think that is a very, very important question. And we have a lot of answers. But I want to put that out because, uh, there's a lot of people with even better answers than ours, right? And we want the truth. We are absolutely wanting the truth. And Richard is totally connected to El Mayo, okay? Because Richard was the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier that pulled on that string that unraveled everything. And um, it was so bad. It was so bad because he was President Trump's, that administration's whistleblower. An administration that actually was trying to secure the border, was actually trying to hold traffickers accountable. And so when you have a whistleblower, a federal whistleblower, a U.S. Army soldier that's not compromised with a sparkling record, distinguished honor graduate record, um, become a whistleblower, take pictures, create files, turn those in, is willing to speak up against crimes against children and all of the drug trafficking and all of the weapons and the fuel trafficking, and also on the Walmart mass shooting case because things were so bad, they needed a diversion. And clearly, our investigation has proven with, we've put it all out there. I don't know if we put it 100% out there, but we put, in song and memes and in recordings and everything. Uh, the Mayellas, we discovered the Mayellas through our investigation. Who are the Mayellas? They are establishment that were Patrick Crucius's family. And why does that matter? Because nobody wanted the deep state, I should call them, and the media did not want anyone to know the connection between the Mayella family and the Crucius family. Okay, they didn't want that to be out there in the world. They're in their little sphere in El Paso. They could celebrate their wedding, they could celebrate all of that stuff because it's all compromised. But they didn't want that to be written down and put into circulation for the world to see. Because their narrative was against President Trump. It was a fake narrative. It was a false narrative. And the Mayellas, being in the DA's office, being in the FBI office, being in Walmart cybersecurity, being in the federal courthouse, managing the federal courthouse for David Guadarrama, the judge in the Patrick Crucius case, federal case. And so, you know, they were right there in the courthouse. They were right there in the prosecutor's office. They were right there in the federal FBI investigative office. They were right there in the Walmart cybersecurity with every opportunity to tamper with video. So, you know, that's a very, very big deal, right? That's a very big deal, especially since Michael Mayella Jr. Was with Jaime Esparza in the DA's office. And so they never showed up for a court case. Here they are, the family. Let's get engaged. Let's get married. Let's do this. Let's do that. And they just absolutely left Patrick Crucius in the cold. And, uh, you know, uh, okay, you're going to say, oh, but he was a mass murderer. Uh, Y'all, he admitted to one or two. That's enough. That's enough for the death penalty, right? That's enough. But uh, we are being lied to about Patrick Crucius, right? An individual that has autism, severe mental health conditions, and that's not an excuse. That is an indictment to the Mayellas because where were they? They weren't testifying about Patrick Crucius, where he got his weapon, where he got his ammunition, where he got his earphones, who was training him, because he was autistic, couldn't tie his shoes when he was 18, couldn't speak until he was 6 years old, and even problems with that. And clearly did not have the cognitive ability to pull this off by himself. So, where was the Mayellas witnessing about who helped him, right? Who helped him? And that's why this is not a defense of Patrick Crucius. This is an indictment for the media and the Mayella family. Because what were they doing? What were they really doing? What were they doing at the DA's office? What were they doing at the FBI's office when they had access to the files? What were they doing at the Walmart cybersecurity with access to the files? What were they doing in the federal courthouse with the federal case with access to the files? This is why this is so important. And the Walmart mass shooting came after Richard became a whistleblower because it was a diversion. It was a cleanup job. It was a lot of things. It was a lot of things, but it wasn't what they told us that, it was a white supremacist that just lost himself, and wanted to go and target some Mexicans and randomly drove all the way, 14, 16 hours um, uh, to El Paso to buy some oranges, to eat some oranges, buy a trash can and help, and then decide, okay, I'm just gonna start shooting, and then surrender two times, and no, it wasn't. We know a lot about the Walmart mass shooting. We know a lot about the Walmart mass shooting case. And the narrative is absolutely a lie. The narrative that they put out there, and so it was absolutely a bloody mess. But it wasn't what they said it was, and um, it wasn't a white supremacy thing. That was in order to target President Trump because he was their nemesis. He is their nemesis because he wants a secure border. He wants the rule of law. He wants traffickers held accountable for all the deaths that they have caused. Not only the deaths that they have caused, but also, I've heard him speak enough. That's why I can say what he wants because these are his policies. He wants the rule of law, and he does not want them to get away with changing the culture of the United States because changing the culture means that the rule of law would change. And what they want is no law at all. That's, they want you to just decide for yourself who you are, what you do, what you're allowed to do. And, the world doesn't work like that. And they're raising children up to think that they can just decide for themselves who they are and what they do and blah, blah, blah. And, it's not like that. That's just not the way the world is. That's just not reality. We can't decide for ourselves how tall we are, what color hair we have, what color skin we have, how many languages we can speak, how high our IQ is. We can't decide for ourselves. We are, and we cannot just say, okay, I can murder at will. I can be fraudulent at will. I can steal at will. I can cheat on my family at will and not be held accountable because of the damage that it does to the community, to the culture, right? You can't just do what you want. And and that's why we say it's a land of the free, because our laws are negative laws, right? Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not bear false witness, right? And so when you have negative laws like that, it limits laws. It limits laws. It limits the law, it limits laws, and it makes people very, very free, because you know what you cannot do. And so that means you can do a lot of things, a lot of things. And so that's why we call ourselves the land of the free. And it's a very beautiful law. It's and we always held it up high, and we put it behind the 10 commandments, and of course our constitution, our case laws, our they've been whittling away or being changed or whatever, but for the most part, they absolutely are case laws from the 10 commandments, you know, from our insurance, from our inheritance laws, um, uh, to the moral code, right? And if people know thou shalt not kill, then I can go out. If thou shalt not rob, right? Uh, Steal, right? Um, then I can go out in the night, and I can feel comfortable, and I can do lots of things. I can do lots of things when I'm not fearing to be mugged or raped or, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word, or, killed, right? The loss of life, if I'm not afraid of that, I have freedom. And so, and Richard absolutely understood this, and they target Christianity. And he stood up against it. He stood up against the worst type of crimes against children, right? Because these people, that's what they're targeting. They're targeting the children. First and foremost, targeting Christianity. They're targeting God first and foremost, and children, and it's very clear by all of these deeds. And Richard, when he got to El Paso, he stood up against it. He stood up against it, and he reported it, and he became a whistleblower. And they had to have a diversion, and they had to attack him. They had to try to take away his sparkliness, right? That he was not compromised. They didn't have anything to blackmail him, and he's just amazing person. And they couldn't have that, because that made him very reliable, made his words very reliable, and they wanted to make him unreliable. And that's why the news, El Paso Matters, who's totally part of the scheme against Richard and is part of the case against Richard. So, them writing any story is a conflict of interest, but that's why they wrote the bad stories, um, that they wanted to dirty up Richard's good record, to make him an unreliable source. The Walmart case was really a huge, huge um, diversion, a very bloody one. And it came, I just want to say this very clearly so everybody understands. Richard's unit is connected to the Walmart mass shooting. Richard's unit is connected to the Walmart mass shooting. And he had intel. He had intel, and this made him even more of a risk to them. So I hope that clears up what the connections are to the Walmart mass shooting. And we know the connections to his unit to the Walmart mass shooting. Uh, that is really, really important. And how can this happen that a military unit can be part of something like a Walmart mass shooting? Well, you can go and ask Governor of Chihuahua, Maru Campos. She will tell you because she just lost her military, right? Her military just arrested. What is his name? I think I just wanted to talk about El Mayo more. Um, I think it's N4, right? Uh, so this La Linea, who La Linea is the armed section of the Juarez cartel, and he left that. He left that and he defected and went to another cartel. And so he has a lot of information. And that makes you very dangerous when you have a lot of information about the inner workings of the Juarez cartel and La Linea and La Linea. And don't forget that La Diabla was La Linea right there in Juarez. Um, so we know that this has a huge possible. They arrested him, right, because of his being part of this arms part of the La Linea, the Juarez cartel, and it goes to, okay, where do those weapons come from? Where did the weapons come from? Who rubbed out the serial numbers? We know that they're doing that because they just arrested the two owners of um, Miss Universe pageant and the security that was rubbing out the serial numbers. Um, this is, uh, it's going to be interesting if this connects Fort Bliss to Juarez Cartel or La Linea, okay? Because now you have La Linea implicated with this human trafficking, um, the worst type of crimes against children, and the worst type of crimes against pregnant mothers, and all this organ harvesting. So yeah, it's. I think he's going to be a great source. I think he had emergency um, medical. I think he had to have emergency medical. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, y'all. Emergency medical, and yes. So this what this arrest showed is that the military arrested him. Okay, so the Mexican military arrested him and they bypassed Governor Maru's law enforcement because they knew this admission. They knew that Mario Campos's uh, law enforcement is so corrupt that they said no, no, thank you, no, thank you, and they passed by her law enforcement because they were afraid that they were going to let him go. So that is huge news, breaking news, because it tells you that there is an internal problem, an internal uh, a mutiny going on, an internal cartel that the Sinaloa cartel, the Chapitos faction of the Sinaloa cartel, is running. running um, Chihuahua, Mexico right now. This is, and of course, they're in the hands of the CCP. So, you know, that makes it double bad, right? That makes it really, really bad. Um, so that is really big news because not only, not only does that um, show you that the Chihuahua government is an FTO, it's a Sinaloa Cartel controlled, right, through the Pan Party. Um, but this is very interesting. If you haven't been paying attention, you might have missed it. Um, Governor Abbott went into an agreement with this very government that now has been proven, corroborated to be in control of a FTO. So, what he did was make a deal with an FTO, okay, to give Texas intelligence and information to Juarez, Mexico, Chihuahua, Mexico. And that is a huge problem, right? That's a huge problem. So now Texas has been infiltrated. Texas has been um, uh, exploited. That's what's going on here. We can have these, um, I guess they're young people, you know, running running a very dangerous gun trafficking, organ harvesting, baby adoption. Uh, Look at how young this guy looks, right? From Lilinia. And and you have Governor Abbott going into a deal with an FTO Sinaloa cartel. Yeah, that's that's not too good. And it also shows you that what we've been saying is true all along, that there is an internal problem. Okay, so let me read some of these. Hello. When I say they're all in on it, I mean they're all in on it. Yeah, but God's not in on it, right? And we're not in on it, and you're not in on it. And El Mayo was betrayed. What El Paso businessman betrayed El Mayo? And El Mayo, how can you betray him, right? I mean, he's billionaire. I mean, can you imagine his security team? And I'm going to read you some of his money that, if I can see it, you're talking about recorded. Oh, I think the deal was for billions of dollars, 15 billions of dollars. A plea deal with El Mayo included a forfeiture of up to 15 billion, that's with a B, billion dollars. Okay, highlighting the scale and wealth accumulated by the Sinaloa cartel under his leadership. Okay, huge, huge. That is $15 billion is culture changing, and he changed it for the worst. And now he was betrayed by a Texas businessman. Why? And not interested in doing something good, right? Because they didn't follow the law. They think they're above the law. And they kidnapped him and drugged him and um flew him into the Santa Teresa jetport um with law enforcement waiting there for him. Uh, and the pilot didn't even have a license, right? The pilot didn't even have a license. So, yeah, uh, this is this tells you how they want to operate. They want to operate lawlessness. And I don't want to say that I'm defending El Mayo at all. I'm not. I'm saying, you know, uh, whoever we know betrayed El Mayo was not interested in doing it for good. There was another motive. Um, so I think that is very important. Generals, congressmen, presidents, law enforcement, judges, attorneys. Trump was a good friend of Epstein. All need to be investigated. Absolutely. And he said, release it. They've been playing games with that because Epstein's Zorro Ranch is a, a very protected airspace right to the ranch over White Sands Missile Range. You just put in the Auto VOR. If you're in a plane, you put, your Auto VOR. The Auto VOR, if you look it up, it's right there. I think it's 4 miles from Epstein's runway. And they were trafficking. They were absolutely trafficking. There's no doubt in my mind. Am I supposed to say no, they weren't trafficking? It's already been reported they were trafficking. So the same Auto VOR is probably uh, the same frequency that they use to bring El Mayo in to Santa Teresa. Abbott and Campos made that deal in 2021 for the Intel Tower super close to the border. If they want, they can shoot anyone from that tower in USA territory. Mm. Uh, yeah, so um, back to Richard. So we know that he was whistleblowing. We know that President Trump was trying to secure that border. We know that the Walmart mass shooting was in response to divert any attention from all of that, right? Uh, then, of course, they had to do all the retaliation to try to make a lot of confusion about who Richard is. And and then they could do the counterintelligence with Ray Velarde and see what he knew. And then shortly after that signing of the document, Richard's life was taken. So that's why, and then of course his body was stolen, and our evidence indicates he's in Plenitude Crematorium. And that's why these are the vicious negotiations for the return of our son's body. And it's really a miracle that with all of the resources that they've spent on this case so far, that that they haven't held us back uh, for too long at a time. We have always conquered through all of these roadblocks, and they absolutely have put up roadblocks. So, um, yeah, it's God is great. God is good. Absolutely. His hand has been all over this. So I think that is huge news that Mauro Campos' government has really no legitimacy. None. So it's like I said, it's almost 1:30, and I think I'm just gonna say good night. It's just watch the posts. Watch the posts. It's really um, the best thing that I can say because we have so much information that we'll be posting about. It's just been nonstop all day long in a very, very good way. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing.